If you're working on your mental health, then you absolutely need to understand how your digestion impacts your mood, the connection between your gut and your brain, and how you can actually strengthen this axis to set yourself up for better physical and mental health. Hi, I'm Jess, a clinical nutritionist, and today's video is all about the connection between your gut and your brain, which we refer to as the gut-brain axis. In this video, we're going to discuss how the axis influences both our mood and our digestion, why poor gut health seems to coincide with low moods and how to get out of this loop, and how strengthening this connection will improve your mood, resilience, and intuition. In addition to this, we're going to go through some specific recommendations for supporting this connection through nutrition other than fiber. They're nutrients that, while I actually consider them foundational for the gut, they actually don't get talked about a lot, so you're going to want to stick around for that. But the gut-brain axis literally blows my mind. It's a fascinating area of research that we're continuously learning more about, so I'll try and share some of the coolest insights while we go through this video as well. So what exactly is the gut-brain axis? The easiest way to describe it is basically the biochemical signaling that takes place between your central nervous system and the gastrointestinal tract. So it's a complex network that essentially links intestinal function to your emotional and cognitive centers of your brain. It's important to first clarify that this axis, and essentially the connection we're talking about, is a two-way communication system, meaning that it goes both ways. So stress signals from the brain can influence digestion, and the gut can similarly send signals that influence the brain as well as our mood. An example of this starts with how we digest our food. Many people are under the impression that digestion begins with the secretion of pancreatic enzymes, specifically in our saliva, but it doesn't. It actually begins in our brain and with our thoughts, because the more activation signals that are sent from the hypothalamus to our digestive organs result in a greater digestive and metabolic breakdown of our foods. A lot of people will ask me what exactly triggers these activation signals, and it's actually the awareness that you are going to eat. Well, that might seem like such a basic or automatic principle. In the world that we live in today, when we're constantly eating on the go or eating at our desk at work, there's no separation of action between what we're doing and what we're eating. So we're not actually always sending those activation signals or having that awareness of, I am going to eat now. Second, the more you actually enjoy your food, the more activation signals are sent from your hypothalamus to your digestive organs. So I always let people know who are working on their digestion that it could be really helpful if they try and clear any negative thoughts or moods or fear before they eat. Doesn't mean that you have to go into toxic positivity and try and convince yourself that you're in a place that you're not, but essentially at least being neutral or having peace or appreciation for what you're about to eat can be very helpful. On the other hand, let's talk about how digestion impacts your mood. I'll give you the very classic example of someone who struggles a lot with digestive disorders. When the gut is in a state of inflammation, it's going to send those signals to the brain of that inflammation, that discomfort, and then ultimately that's going to impact our mood. In other words, it's no coincidence that those who struggle with digestive disorders often struggle with their mental health as well. Gut dysbiosis, especially a lack of beneficial strains, is linked to depression and anxiety for this reason. So let's talk about how we actually get out of this loop, because it can be a very frustrating place to be in. Sometimes when we're stuck in this, we don't know where to start, we're barking up the wrong tree, we get told by people we go to see about our digestive health that it's psychological, and then when we go to someone to work on our mental health, we're told that we could have physiological issues, right? So it's one of those chicken egg scenarios, and because of what we just learned with the gut-brain axis, axis, you can see that it's neither X leads to Y, it's essentially that they're continuously playing off of each other. So while I actually think it's incredibly important to work on both ends of the spectrum, the psychological and the physiological, I actually think that the best place to start is working on improving your gut health. And this is because gut microbes appear to play a very significant role in sending and receiving these signals. I'm gonna be real honest with you for a moment. It is going to be very hard to biohack your way out of depression or anxiety or really any suboptimal mental state if you struggle with digestive disorders. So let's talk about some nutritional strategies that are going to help line this path forward. Oftentimes when we talk about nutritional strategies for gut health, the one thing that you'll hear is fiber. More fiber will essentially cure everything, right? Fiber is great, it's really important for so many nutritional factors, but that alone isn't really gonna help with gut issues, and depending on what kind of gut issues you have, it could actually make it worse. A lot of times people with like IBS, IBD, SIBO, or a type of overgrowth find that the more fiber that they consume from quote unquote healthy foods actually causes them more symptoms. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't have fiber, you should definitely have a level that you tolerate, but what I am saying is that there are actually some other nutrients that I consider gut health foundational that I think actually have to be in place before you add on the fiber or the prebiotics or the probiotics or anything like that really. So the first foundational nutrient for the gut is actually omega-3 fatty acids. EPA and DHA specifically actually act like a prebiotic for some beneficial bacteria in the gut, like bifidobacterium and lactobacillus. These fats also increase butyrate producing bacteria and short chain fatty acid production. This type of bacteria is associated with reducing endotoxin production, gut permeability, and essentially overall inflammation in the gut. Fish oil supplementation has actually been shown to restore levels of probiotic bacteria in the gut in 2 weeks, which is pretty cool. In addition to omegas, vitamin A, D, and zinc are all really important nutrients for maintaining intestinal integrity, which is essentially that gut barrier. These nutrients are really predominant in fish, shellfish, red meat, poultry, and bone broth. The next two important nutrients are amino acids, glycine, and glutamine. Both of these have been shown to protect and stimulate the growth of small intestinal mucosa. These are amino acids that are found on fattier skin on bone meat and also in bone broth, which is why bone broth is so gut healing. It's really rich in L-glycine. Those are actually the nutrients that I would focus on for gut health foundations. A lot of those you'll be able to get through foods, but there are some that you may want to supplement with, like the omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, maybe potentially L-glutamine as well. I'll leave links to all of those below. If you have those down and then you want to add on some pre and probiotic foods and see how much fiber that you tolerate, then awesome. So now that we've discussed how the gut-brain axis plays a critical role in your digestion and your mood, as well as some nutritional strategies to support it, I want to talk about how this axis can also improve our emotional resilience, wisdom, and maybe even intuition. Let's talk about intuition for a moment. We tend to think of intuition as something that we do or we don't have, like a magical superpower. But there's actually much more science to intuition than we think, and it's actually just much more than a feeling. And a strong component of this phenomenon can be attributed to the gut-brain axis. So that gut instinct that we get is actually the communication between the neurons embedded in our gut and our limbic brain. Our limbic brain houses our experiences, emotions, habits, behaviors, and essentially is a very strong component of our decision-making process. So I always tell people that the gut-brain axis is not only here to govern our digestive system, but essentially to strengthen one of our deepest sources of wisdom. So basically, the better that you mind your gut, the stronger that these magical superpowers are going to be. This study looked at how a more diverse microbiome may actually contribute to and help promote better resilience, emotional stability, and perception of well-being. We'll call it wisdom. So what's so awesome about this research and what we're finding is that this isn't something that you just have or you don't have. You have the ability to influence and strengthen this mind-body connection through various means, some of which we went over today. So if that's not super cool and empowering, then I don't know what else is. If you enjoyed this video and you want to understand other foundational aspects of nutrition for mental health, then check out this video here that's all about omega-3 fats. We learned about omega-3 fats today and how they're really important for your gut, but they also directly influence neurotransmitters and inflammation in the brain. So hopefully I'll see you in that one.